One of the things that I really love about the DC universe is that the superheroes that are created, their origin stories are all very different, and it defines them.
With the Trinity, you have three very different characters, an alien, a man, and a god. They all have a different backstory. They come from a different world.
Superman is a refugee from another world, an immigrant who is adopted by a loving couple from Kansas, from Heartland, America, and his entire worldview and ideology is shaped by this. Batman lives in the sort of horrible nightmare that's Gotham City. He watched his parents get murdered and, is raised alone by Alfred in this mansion by himself, mired in fear. That entirely shapes Batman. Wonder Woman was raised in utopia by 3,000 mothers and aunts and sisters who did nothing but love her and take care of her. She was raised in the most perfect world possible and led to believe that the world itself could be perfect, because why not? It gives her a whole different point of view than Batman and Superman.
This is a young woman who is coming into the world with the best of intentions and has to learn so much. And she learns so many of the things that will end up ultimately making her the character that was in BVS and will go on to be in Justice League.
What's compelling to me about Wonder Woman is to see this powerful woman who comes from a very different place than other superheroes.
She's been able to observe mankind longer than anybody, and she's been able to have certain experiences that none of the others can say that they've had, and she's got this incredible perspective. It's one of the great things that makes her, I think, one of the most unique characters in the Justice League.
Shall we?
Diana has to come from a working paradise. She has to come from a society that has achieved greatness, that has set aside antipathy and hatred and prejudice and bigotry, so that when she comes to this world, she comes with a very unique perspective, which is perhaps fundamentally, wow, this is messed up.
You would knowingly sacrifice all those lives as if they mean less than yours?
Diana, let's talk
as
about
if
this
they
outside.
mean nothing?
The character is so iconic, and yet a lot of people outside of comics don't really know what she's about. They have a sense of Linda Carter and the television show and Ms. Magazine on through the years, but I think people are hard-pressed to talk about her origin story or what she really stands for.
I love that there's a purity to Wonder Woman, that she is purely a hero. She doesn't have the broken past. She's not seeking revenge on the people that wronged her family or that wronged her as a child and made her dark.
She basically is the embodiment of someone who has never been told that her gender is a detriment, or her gender should be considered less than, or that because she's a woman, she's weaker than someone else.
And that's what's so awesome. She doesn't see any difference between a man and a woman. They're all humans, and that's such a beautiful thing to have.
She was raised in a community who did nothing but treat her with respect and kindness and equality, and so that's all she expects from people, and that's all she gives them in return.
Be careful in the world of men, Diana. They do not deserve you.
So Wonder Woman is here to teach mankind a better way of living. That can only shape the worldview of the character, and it certainly shapes, I think, the way creators think about her and the energies they bring to her.
As soon as I started scratching the surface of the character when I was working on her, I very quickly sort of fell in love with her, and it seems like everybody does as well. She becomes interesting because you start to refer to her as Diana. She becomes more than just a fictional person. She matters.
I really latched on to the wonder. That's who she is. She wonders. That, to me, is so elegantly encompassing of who she is. She enters this world, and there are wonders to her. Not all of them wonderful. That sense of wonder leads to something else, which is her empathy is so tremendous.
The next safe crossing is at least a day away. What are we waiting for?
We cannot leave without helping them. These people are dying.
Her inclusiveness is without bounds. Diana is going to accept you as who you are. And that, I think, just springs off the page.
When I write Wonder Woman, she's super confident. If there's someone who's blustering or a bully or an adversary that's coming, she knows it will be a difficult fight, but she will be the one that's standing there at the end. She will not back down, especially if there's something that she's protecting, an ideal or a person.
When I write a Wonder Woman story, I'm intrigued by the balance between warrior and goddess, and peacemaker and fighter, because she has to be both.
Sometimes it felt like people thought, okay, she's Wonder Woman, she's the greatest warrior, so they turned her into this masculine character, which she's not. The beautiful thing about Wonder Woman is that she's so diverse. She's everything. She can be vulnerable and sensitive and the greatest warrior ever, and strong and confident. Like, she can be all of the above. She can be everything that a woman has, and they live together in a beautiful way.
Good. Good. That's good. She's the everyman hero woman who doesn't have to give up anything to be that woman. She wasn't compromised for her strength. And that was something very, very, very new when it was first written, and continued to be new and continues to be new now.
Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman really do represent different aspects of heroism. With Wonder Woman, it's about equality, and it's about having compassion for fellow people. And as a result of that, understanding that you need to treat everybody equally.
Her inherent power was always obvious, even to the most casual comic book kid. They understood that she needed to be there, right? You had to represent her. They just understood inherently the power of this figure to sort of be transcendent of the boy stuff they were given. Like, here's Superman and Batman, they're gonna duke it out. And then they're given this other symbol that is clearly in all of us, that essential concept of this warrior who looks at war differently.
That's another difference between her and Batman and Superman. They all have very different relationships with violence. Batman is traumatized by violence to such an extent that he wants to control it. Superman's power set is such that his relationship with violence is, you've got to hit him so hard for it to matter. When the way you get at Superman is emotionally. Because you're not going to beat him just by pounding him down unless you happen to have kryptonite with you. Diana comes out of a warrior culture that knows what that means in every sense. Diana's never going to enter into a combat without knowing exactly what it is she is about to do. Her skill, her discipline, she never goes to the sword first.
She has this thing inside of her that just pushes her and make her want to do good and want to be proactive and want to help and want to do better. Fighting would be her last option.
Often Batman and Superman, they're like brothers, you know. They're really different, but obviously they're sort of on the same side, and they try to reconcile that, and she's the sister in the middle going, guys, we've got to think of a solution to this, not just wade in.
She's kind of a voice of reason in their very focused worldviews. She just might take more into consideration as far as a superhero goes. She might bring the best of both of those characters, plus an energy that they don't have.
Also, she works on them to bring out their better nature. She works with Superman to kind of ground him and take him down a notch from his starry-eyed idealism, because she's been around for a long time. She really knows the history of the world and how people can behave. And Batman, she continuously brings a little bit more into the light to try to break him out of his own shell, to be more of a team player, to also discover elements of humanity that he has willfully discarded.
They just complement each other very, very well. That's why they're the Trinity, because they work so well together. It wasn't like DC Comics ever said, we're going to create 3 characters that are going to be the cornerstone of the DC universe. It wasn't manufactured. The cornerstone was built off who the characters were and why people loved them. The fact that they kind of link up so well together and complement each other and contrast against one another is pretty fascinating.
What's really interesting about Wonder Woman is when we've seen her in comics, she really reflected women's place in society at that time, and she changed as women's place in society changed.
Her creator, William Marston, and his wife Elizabeth had a very specific idea that they were promoting with Wonder Woman. At her core, she represents certain things: peace, love, equality. But Wonder Woman is handled so differently when she becomes a member of the Justice Society, because she's being written and drawn by people other than her creator.
She started out as being the only woman, which led to some writers kind of doing unfortunate things with her, where she was the secretary.
Then the Justice League was formed, and Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman are on the team, along with Green Lantern and Martian Manhunter and Flash and Aquaman and some other characters, and it changes. It changes depending on who's writing it.
In the late 90s, when Grant Morrison brought back the Justice League as the 7 grand icons of the DC Universe, Wonder Woman among them, she was a physical powerhouse to be reckoned with by playing up the Amazon goddess angle, which is decidedly different than the ways they thought of her in the 70s, in the 50s, and certainly in the 1940s.
And then the Justice League show also made her more of the Amazon warrior that she was. She didn't have the Boy Scout aspect that Superman had, and she didn't have quite the aversion to violence that sometimes Batman can have. She was just a warrior who stood for what was right versus what was wrong.
She acts from emotion, and emotion is also what stops her from acting. Her intentions are so pure and so inspiring.
She personifies the better elements of somebody who is cool in battle and yet compassionate as well. You need a conscience in the group. You need a heart. You need a truth teller. You need somebody who's going to rein the other guys back and say, no, we're not doing this, and here's why.
They might have disagreements, but overall, if Wonder Woman says something, you trust it. If she looks at you and says, you can do this, then you believe it. She knows when someone's feeling troubled. She knows how to reach people. She is compassionate, empathetic. She does have an opinion. She'll push back if she needs to. She's really an interesting character. I hate to say she's on a different plane, but she is.
Other characters that look up to her. They're looking at her as someone they want to be like, or there's a trust that you feel like she'll be there for you. It's like almost maternal in a way, like that strong mother, don't mess with my cubs type of thing. There's a fierceness, but it's controlled.
She with you?
I thought she was with you.
There's parallels between Diana and Clark in the sense that they both come from worlds outside of our world. And I know a lot of people like to see the connection between Wonder Woman and Superman as an item. I think it's more interesting looking at Diana and Batman, personally, because they're not so obvious.
They play into really kind of visceral primal myths, and they play off of each other so beautifully, the dark and the light. Just perfect opposites. And I know that in Justice League over the years, they have played them both as sparring partners and with a sense that there might be something else if you want to read into it.
Bruce is a man of the human world, and Wonder Woman is not. There's some interesting things to explore there.
Wonder Woman's the only character that doesn't really have a secret identity. Wonder Woman is who she is all the time, which I like about her because she kind of balances it in a good way.
Now, people think of her as the secret weapon of the Justice League. People follow her because they believe in her and they believe that she knows what she's doing, and because she has that sort of spirit that will get people to rise up and fight against their oppressors or against supervillains, whichever the case may be.
She is immortal. You're around that long, you're gonna see both the good and the bad in humanity. The fact that she holds on to the good says a lot. If humanity is capable of great good and they just have to work together to get there, but they can, and she says it, then I believe it.
Diana needs to be aspirational. You have to see in her things that you want to emulate. We see things we want to emulate in Batman all the time, but they come down to him being a badass. They almost universally come down to the cool factor. Kindness is not necessarily considered cool. Curiosity, compassion, tolerance, inquisitiveness, certainly all worth emulating. Diana makes it cool.
She's been around because she struck a chord at a certain time and then just kind of evolved throughout the ages. If she's approached in a certain way, you can kind of discover the world again through her. She's constantly learning about us. That's a good way for us to learn about us. She's also learning about the good in us and the bad in us. So we can have a nice discussion about those things.
Her introduction into the Trinity with Batman versus Superman and the clear sense of confidence and equality and passion, strength, all of that she brought and that Batman and Superman recognized in her speaks to a strength that comes only when you understand what women are capable of.
Wonder Woman is a teacher. You don't often get superheroes who are teachers, superheroes whose mission is to transform life through giving information. I think that's actually a really beautiful idea. It's not just about teaching young girls to raise their swords up, it's about teaching young boys to put their swords down.
Only love
can truly save the world.
Everything Wonder Woman stands for is brilliant. It's all about spreading the positivity in an unjudgmental way. And that's why it's very easy for her to accept people and to love people, because she doesn't judge them.
She is the idealized universal woman, not unlike what Superman is to men. Superman is the great hero. Wonder Woman is that for women. She was absolutely beautiful, wholesome, kind, loving, forgiving, and a badass. And so that's what's so unique about her, and that was both instilled in Marston's original work and also, I think, beautifully celebrated by this movie.